Hello and welcome to On the Preds with your host Alex Doherty of A to Z Sports and Sean Smith of On the Forecheck. Welcome in. How is everybody doing? We hope you are well. We have a lot of hockey to talk about. Sean, it has been a crazy week. A lot of history being made, right? We talked last week about records being broken. We saw some records
Yeah.
broken.
Well, it's almost like we knew what we were saying because we said we're gonna talk about all these records you're gonna see soon, and we saw a lot of them. So
Yep.
I don't know if we just can look at numbers and make predictions really well, or if we're just geniuses. But one of those two things is correct.
If there's one thing that me and you know, it is numbers.
That's right. We are numbers guys.
So today on the show, Filip Forsberg makes history in Smashville. We will talk about his historic night and also talk about some other potential historic nights, either that have already happened or that may happen very soon. Speaking of Forsberg, though, it is Filip Forsberg's world. We're just living in it. Will he get traded? A big topic to cover. We're going to definitely hit on that. And
Oh
then
boy.
maybe any other trade talk to speak of with the Preds, just something I thought about, and that has been a massive week with two big wins, one bad loss, and now a massive few days to go with the trade deadline Monday. So there's a lot here to talk about, and I want to go ahead and get to it. But before we do that, I do want to tell you about Relax the Back. I've had some weird back issues recently, like I've been not sleeping well because of my back. And I'm definitely going to go check out Relax the Back at 2020 Glen Echo Road in Nashville. If you want to work better, live better, feel better every day, you've got to go to Relax the Back because obviously if you sleep well, you will live well. I did not sleep well last night. I'm going to be honest. I did not. I didn't sleep well last night because of my back was sore. I've been having these weird kind of muscle aches. And so I'm really going to go check it out. I need to find something that kind of helps. And I know that I will find it there because they've got so many options for customized comfort when you sleep, work, or just relax at home. Zero gravity chairs, massage chairs, Technogel mattress, which is so much better than memory foam. You just got to go to the store. A sleep agent is on hand every day to help figure out how to sleep better and resolve any pain issues. Just go to the store, 2020 Glen Echo Road in Green Hills. Learn about the 4 pillars of wellness: healthy sleep, healthy work, healthy body, and healthy mind. Did you sleep well last night, Sean?
Alex, I'm going to say this. There's enough stress and enough things going on in the world that you deserve to be able to sleep well at night.
I
I
know.
tell you that. You think about it. You've got at best, 6, maybe 6.5 hours where you don't have to worry about anything. You don't want to wake up sore. And I slept okay last night. I'm not going to say it was great, but you know,
Okay.
it was
That's
good
good.
enough. But you know what would have
Yeah.
made it better if I could have relaxed my back a little bit more.
There you go. Well, go to Relax the Back and they will help you do that. Excellent people over there. They know what they're talking about. Very, very good resource. Okay. Let's go ahead and recap the week because we've got 3 games to talk about: a Pittsburgh game, a Philadelphia game, and a Toronto game. A bunch of Eastern Conference teams. So I know that you were going to take over the Pittsburgh game. So you want to talk about the Pittsburgh win last Tuesday?
Well, yes, I do. So here's the thing: the Pittsburgh Penguins have been surging as of late, and of all the steamrollers that the Predators were going to face last week, this was the first challenge they were going to have, and the game opened up with extremely tight play. It was, for if you look at the final score, it didn't really seem indicative of what you saw on the ice because there was not a lot of scoring. It kind of came in a little flurry there at one spot, but things were tight pretty much all the way through the first period and up until the last 2 seconds. And this was fun. When Matthias Ekholm drew first blood on what was a set play off the faceoff, he was left alone and found a wide open net on the left side. And I'll tell you, I don't want to go into too much analysis, but that was to me that was kind of like making one of your linemen an eligible receiver and throwing him the ball. Nobody saw that coming. Nobody saw
Yeah.
Ekholm sneak over there. I thought it was a really good goal. I thought it was drawn up perfectly, executed perfectly. I mean, that's the kind of thing you want to see out of the Preds all the time, and I absolutely loved it. Of course, it took most of the second, though, before Jake Gensel reminded everyone in Nashville why they hated him back in
Man.
2017 when he evened the score up. And I tell you what, there if you could make a face for punching.
That guy kills Nashville.
Yeah, but if you could make a face for punching, it would look like Jake Gensel right there.
Yeah.
But the good news about his goal is that it was the last one the Penguins were going to score all night as the Predators took over, and Tanner Jeannot redirected a Roman Josi slap shot a few minutes later to make it 2-1. And then not too long after that, Eli Tolvanen took advantage of a miscue by two Penguins defenders, sprang himself free and delivered the goods right into Dennett, right behind DeSmith.
Good.
Oh, that was bad. And then in the closing minutes of the third, Colton Sissons made a very unselfish pass to Yakov Trenin, who was able to drill the empty net to seal the deal at 4-1.
I think that same thing happened Saturday, last night. We'll talk about that in a minute. But okay. Yeah, that was. I mean, from what I heard, I did not watch all of this game. I watched a good bit of it, maybe like half of it. It seemed like the Predators just like kind of dominated, right? I mean, it seemed to me, from what I could tell, what people were saying was that the Predators dominated the Penguins. Is that how you see it?
I would say, I mean, it was a tight game. Like, it wasn't like the Predators had 600 chances they just didn't capitalize on. It was basically two teams trying to find an opening, and the Predators just managed to find it more. But let's say this, and I didn't even mention this in the recap, because as we've discussed before, hits don't necessarily impact the score, but Colton Sissons leveled, and I mean absolutely leveled, Sidney Crosby, and it was probably one of the greatest things I've ever seen in my hockey fan life.
Yeah, I mean, it's really funny how much of an impact that whole Stanley Cup final with that team made, because there are people who still just don't like Sidney Crosby for so many reasons. And like, that was 5 years. First of all, it was 5 years ago. And also like, they just don't play the Penguins that much. I mean, they play them like a couple times a year, and really only like maybe 1 or 2 games in Nashville. And wow, they just, people hate that guy.
Look, I can hold a grudge for a lot longer than 5 years. I've got a few go back to like age 7. So
I mean,
don't worry.
Age 7, good Lord, what happened at age 7?
I got a lot of people I got a lot of problems with.
Okay.
It's okay.
All right. Well, the Predators beat the Penguins 4-1. And then, when you look at the way this week turned out, you had 2 really tough games in Pittsburgh and Toronto, and then you had between there, you had a very beatable Philadelphia team. Because look, the Flyers are bad. They're dead last in their division. However, they were honoring Claude Giroux on the night because he played his 1,000th NHL game, which is awesome. Claude Giroux is a great player, like him a lot. In fact, if you don't like Sidney Crosby, you should love Claude Giroux, because talking about laying players out in the playoffs back in 2012 when Laviolette was the coach, Claude Giroux famously just absolutely decked Sidney Crosby at the beginning of a game. This was right after, just real quick, this won't take long. Right after a game in which the Penguins won, where they really mucked it up against the Flyers, and there were a ton of penalty minutes. Very next game, Claude Giroux goes out, first shift of the game, decks Sidney Crosby. I mean, totally lays him out, and then scores a goal. And like that right there locked him in the hearts of Philadelphia Flyers fans forever. So just real quick, Claude Giroux is awesome. You should love Claude Giroux. Everyone should love Claude Giroux, except for maybe Sidney Crosby. But anyways, so they were honoring Claude Giroux at the end of the game. And so it clearly motivated the Flyers to win that game. Flyers are not good. They have a lot of issues, really like kind of almost full on sell mode. And so the Preds were down at 1-0 after one period, but then the game was tied 3-3 at the end of the second. There was just a ton of action. Tanner Jeannot, Ryan Johansson, and yes, even one Philip Myers, talking about him in a minute maybe, scored for the Preds. Then in the third, Filip Forsberg with an insane goal, between the legs goal, that put the Preds up 4-3, which was actually the career tying goal, number 210. And so, it really looked like, oh, this is where the Predators beat them because they're the Predators and the Flyers are not good. But no, the Flyers tied it up. Kevin Hayes, they get really lax on defense. Kevin Hayes gets a dirty goal in front, and then Joel Farabee gets lost on the back door. That puts Philly up 5-4 with a little over a minute left. So very similar to the way that the Predators lost to the St. Louis Blues the last Saturday in a very exciting game, lots of goals being scored, and they basically lost it in the last like minute and a half of the game where the other team goes ahead and now they're scrambling. And so, but either way, it's a bad loss for the Predators against Philadelphia. So really not good. And I'll tell you what, I don't know if you saw it, you might've seen clips of it, or maybe you were watching it, but John Hines was so angry.
Yeah, I saw the clips.
I mean, most fans may not realize it when they, just an average fan tuning, if they happen to tune into the post game for that, they'd be like, they probably wouldn't notice it. If you've seen enough of John Hines, like you and I have, where you kind of know his tendencies, how he talks about things, how he reports the game afterwards, he was pissed, right?
Yep.
I mean, because he normally gives these very kind of long, detailed explanations about what happened, and even in losses. And this one, he was not having it. He was like, he gave very short answers. It was bad. So
I think you said, did you say he answered 3 questions in 90 seconds? Right?
I think it was less than 90 seconds. I think it was like
less. I mean, most answers are more than 90 seconds.
Yeah, most answers are like a minute and a half. Yeah, and he answered 3 questions in that time, and that's with question time too. So like, in terms of how much time he took on that post game, he was ready to get out of there and yell at his team. So, and I guess that's what he did, because on Saturday with Trana in town and half the media.
Trana.
What?
Trana.
The laughs, the Trana laughs. So they're in town, and so is half of the NHL media. It really was a fun environment, good atmosphere. And you had the feeling that this could be a bellwether game for the Predators. This was a game that if they could win this game, or even just like play well in this game, like this would kind of maybe set some things in motion for the future. Maybe like not necessarily Filip Forsberg, but some other things we'll mention. I'll mention one thing has to do with Roman Josi. But first of all, Tanner Jeannot scores to make it 1-0 Predators. This was such a beautiful play. And I was going to pull it, but I didn't have time. I'm going to show another video instead. But it was such a great play because it was good from defensive zone through the neutral zone into the offensive zone. Everything kind of perfect. Yakov Trenin collects it, zone exit, finds Colton Sissons. Colton Sissons weaves his way through. Great play at the blue line to hold up. Feeds Tanner Jeannot on the left side, who just takes it and rips it and puts it by Kallgren, who is their goalie, who's like, they have serious goalie issues. But so anyways, that was 1-0 Preds. In the second period, Eeli Tolvanen tips home a blue line shot by Jeremy Davies. Jeremy Davies has now tied Ben Harper on points for the season. And you got to feel for Eeli Tolvanen, because I mean he's become a tip master now. He's good at that. He can tip those pucks home. Really good with the stick, that Eeli Tolvanen. But then Mitch Marner finds room in the slot, wide open shot and goal, 2-1. Matthias Ekholm, he wasn't having it. 3-1 Preds after he smashes one from the wall. So the Leafs score to make it 3-2. But then Filip Forsberg makes history, goal number 211. #grind mentality, putting back a rebound from below the goal line. Take a look at this. This is awesome. Gotta love this whole scene right here. So I'm going to play this a little bit longer of a segment, but I'll go ahead and show you guys this.
Filip Forsberg, his 211th goal, and he is the all-time leading goal scorer in Nashville Predators history. Historic goal couldn't come at a bigger time.
Prince Filip of Forsberg now becomes the king with this goal right there at the side of the net. Look at the reaction as he breaks David Legwand's franchise record for goals in the team's history.
So the crowd explodes. They know.
Very awesome moment. And I pointed out on Twitter that, it it's interesting that goal 211 didn't look exactly like most of the other ones. I mean, he's had a few goals like that for sure.
Yeah.
Most of his are because he's a great shooter and because he's a great playmaker. He can do so many things in front of the net. That time he's behind the net. Almost like you're going to appreciate this analogy. Almost like how wasn't Mark McGuire's record-breaking home run like one of his shortest home runs? Like
didn't it just barely go over?
Yeah, like just barely went over the fence.
It was pretty, if I recall, and granted, Alex, I'm going to go ahead and say it's been a few years.
Yes.
But yeah, I don't remember it being a blast that just.
It was not a blast. It was like just over the fence, just cleared it. And anyways, doesn't matter. But I just thought of that analogy just now. But so that not only was it a big goal for him and for the franchise, but it made it a two goal game. Sets the record. Two goal lead restored. A little later, Matt Duchene scores his 32nd goal of the year on a 2-on-1 that was just also beautiful. So he's at 32. Filip Forsberg's at 33. 5-2. There were some other goals scored. Final score 6-3. Preds beat Toronto. Oh, and I guess I wanted to show this too. I wanted to give a couple reactions after. So I guess we'll start with Forsberg. This is him. So I asked him this question, where does this moment rank for him? And he brought up some interesting things about, kind of where this ranks alongside. So, I think this is pretty telling about how important this moment was for him. This is Filip Forsberg just after the game.
When you think about your career to this point, where does this moment rank for you?
I mean, it's up there. I mean, obviously, I've been fortunate enough to play for this team for a long time and play for my country back home too. And I mean, Stanley Cup final and winning the World Championship are probably the top two. And obviously, the promotion with my hometown team, Leksand, is always going to be there. But this one is definitely up there by those.
So he mentions the Cup final. He mentions winning the World Championship, playing with Leksand, his hometown team. That's cool. That's pretty neat. Those are all important moments for him, including scoring that goal. And then here was John Hynes after the game. I think this is a good John Hynes moment, I think, talking about his player. So this is, I think Brooks asked this question, and I think it's just basically him talking about Filip Forsberg's historic night.
Really happy for Phil. I mean, I thought tonight he played a great game. I mean, he tracked pucks, he was skating, he was physical. I mean, tonight, if you look at Forsberg's performance, I mean, he played the game the right way tonight. And it's nice to see him get rewarded. It's obviously a huge accomplishment to set a franchise record for goals. But probably, most importantly, and the special part of it is he did it at home in a big goal with a great crowd on a Saturday night. And it's great for him. I think the fans, the organization, that he was able to accomplish it in a big time goal in a good win in front of the home crowd.
So John Hynes acknowledging that Filip Forsberg scores that big goal in a big moment, and that he played the game the right way. I mean, that's such a typical John Hynes moment. And I think he's right. I mean, I watched. I really think the Predators were the better team last night. I mean, the Maple Leafs are very good. They're obviously a playoff team. They could contend for the Cup for sure with that lineup. But man, they just buzzed all night up and down the ice. I mean, the Leafs had their moments. They're a talented team. They're going to do that. But I think the Predators were the better team, and they just kind of at moments in the game they were just dominating the Leafs in their own zone. It was crazy to see.
Yeah, you mentioned seeing it, but I didn't get to see the game. Unfortunately, I got to watch beach volleyball. But it seemed like from the radio broadcast that it was exciting. Pete Weber was very excited about things, so that usually makes me excited about things. But no, I was. You said it looked like he played the game right to me too. Yeah, I'm just going to take yours and John Hynes' words on that because I didn't get to see it.
Yeah. I heard that there were some TV issues last night. A bunch of people were responding to a tweet of mine, and I was like, I can't do anything about this. I'm sorry.
You needed to fix it, Alex.
Yeah,
fix it. You were there. Just go flip the switch or push the button.
What's funny is I did keep looking over at where the TV broadcast is. I don't know why, as if I was going to see some cord hanging down that I could be like, oh, look, they'll plug that one in. Yeah. Yeah, right, like the Back to the Future moment. Like we're like, oh, we just need to plug it in. No, that didn't
See
happen.
Willie Donick with his like phone light out trying to fix something. Like, oh no.
Yeah, exactly. No, I was not the person to help out with that. But I do feel for people who weren't able to see that. That's very disappointing. I'm sorry to hear that.
I was disappointed. I think what it's come down to is it wasn't a Preds on Bally issue or a Fox Sports South or whatever Bally
Yeah.
Sports South it is now. It was specifically unique to Comcast.
It was a Comcast issue,
Subscribers not being able, for whatever reason. I don't know. Like, I don't think it's like some kind of, they always have those disputes where it's like, you'll never see the Predators again unless you call this number and demand that they, whatever. But I don't know. And it was, we were told from I think the Bally Sports South side that they were, that it was Comcast customers and they were working on resolution, but nothing ever happened. So,
yeah. Okay. So big week. Predators win 2 out of 3, 4 points out of 6 points. That's going to do fine, just fine for them, where they are in the standings. But we do need to talk about Filip Forsberg because that was a big moment, and we need to talk about specifically what's going to happen in the next couple of days. Before we do that, we got to talk about HelloFresh. So, look, I've said this before, and I many times on this show. HelloFresh is not only something that I've been using for 4 years now, it has completely changed the way we do like dinners at our house. Before this, we were, eating out a lot. We were spending a lot of time trying to go to the grocery store and planning out meals. This has changed the way we eat dinner. We eat dinner together as a family a lot more. We eat healthier meals and we save money. So with HelloFresh, you get farm fresh, pre-proportioned ingredients, seasonal recipes delivered right to your doorstep. You can skip those trips to the grocery store. And HelloFresh is going to make home cooking fun, easy, and affordable. If you don't have time to cook these days, it cuts back time on the kitchen, 30 minutes or less, quick and easy meals, 20-minute recipes, low prep, easy cleanup options. They also, for those of you looking for healthier options, they have fit and wholesome recipes for satisfying, nutritious meals you can feel good about, with 6 recipes per week to choose from, including low-calorie, carb-conscious options. They got lean meats. They got really solid options in terms of vegetables. A lot of different fresh vegetables come through, fruits as well. So you got to try it out. You can get 16 free meals right now if you go to HelloFresh.com/smash16. Use that code SMASH16 for up to 16 free meals and 3 free gifts. HelloFresh is amazing. You've got to try it out. Like I said, it has changed the way that we do dinner at our house. It could change the way you do dinner at your house for the better. So go check it out. HelloFresh.com/smash16. All right. Whoops. Sorry. Okay. So Filip Forsberg makes history. There are some trade rumors. They're very faint, but they are there. Give me your take initially right now, what you think will happen with Filip Forsberg over the next couple days. Just your initial take, and then we'll kind of dive into it. And I'll give you my kind of longer take about why I think it won't happen. But give me your initial take. Do you think that he's going to get traded?
No, I don't think he's going to get traded. I go back to, and we are aware up in the press box area, whatever you want to call that space where we get to cover the games from, that there are scouts at the games. I remember a couple of whenever it was that there's a lot of talk about trading Craig Smith at the trade deadline, that I was seated next to. There were enough scouts there that I was sitting next to them that were tracking everything Craig Smith was doing. They were asking me questions about Craig Smith. It was pretty obvious that Craig Smith was being shopped around. That's not happening with Forsberg, and that's just there's scouts there, but there's always scouts at every game. I mean, they're not just watching players; they're scouting for their team. I think a lot of scouts probably, for scouts for different teams, they don't live where that team is located. They live in the area where they want them scouting. So, that's just their job to be there. I don't think it's necessarily, the Colorado Avalanche have a representative here, therefore they're they're looking at somebody on the team. No, they're going to play a lot of games against the Predators, so let somebody be familiar with the Predators. But I just haven't seen, because again, if Craig Smith was generating that much interest, I can only imagine what it would be like if Forsberg was up for sale. It would be pretty intense, and it's just not happening.
I'm going to add to that so TSN, the Hockey Network, puts out a trade bait list on their website every year. It's like a kind of a really good place to go for like the first source of like, okay, who's trade bait, who's on the potential trading block. Right now there's 60 players on it. Filip Forsberg is not on the trade bait list. That tells me a lot. I mean, that tells me that not only are the rumors very, very faint, but like I think that even the major media, who is typically pretty connected, I mean, the TSN's trade bait board. In fact, I'm looking at the trade bait board. This is I've got it right over here. Several of the players have already been traded on it. Yeah. I mean, it's not like a list where it's like once they get traded, they get removed. Like Hampus Lindholm is the number one player on there, and he just got traded to the Boston Bruins. So like it's a legit list. Filip Forsberg is not on it. That tells me that a lot of people who know what they're talking about are thinking he's not going to get traded. So I think like you, it's not going to happen.
Right. I just don't see it.
And I know that can be upsetting for people. Well, the potential for him not being traded and then the potential for him not re-signing is upsetting to people. And I get that. I mean, I totally understand where people are coming from with losing a guy like that for nothing. But I put together a tweet thread yesterday that I think it kind of explains why it just can't happen. I mean, like there's no way that David Poile can trade Filip Forsberg right now because of the history of what's happened over the last like 9 years. I mean, what's happened with this whole evolution of where the Nashville Predators are at right now. It makes it almost impossible for him to trade Filip Forsberg. If you think back to the fact that when Forsberg came over, he very quickly became the guy for David Poile. Like, this is the guy he's been chasing, right? This is an elite goal scorer that he's been looking for a long time. And he got him, signs him to the biggest deal he's ever signed a sub 23-year-old. He signs him to 6x6. That's still the highest contract for anyone under 23. In fact, it's the highest contract for anyone under 22. And he does that because he knows this is the guy. This is the guy that's going to be our future goal scoring. And that's exactly what he became. I mean, he just passed the record. He's the all-time leading goal scorer in both regular season and in the playoffs. He's got 22 goals in the playoffs. He becomes a massive figure in the 2017 Cup run, in the President's Trophy year. After that, we have some downtime with the team, not just him, but with the team, and goes through some pretty major changes with the Laviolette firing, with a lot of pieces being moved in and out, major acquisitions in terms of Matt Duchene, trading away Ryan Ellis, trading away Victor Arvidsson. So like all these changes happen, hiring John Hines. And throughout this whole thing, throughout all of this, one of the most consistent things that David Poile has been complaining about, pretty publicly, has been the production of his top forwards, right? So like he's been complaining that, without mentioning these guys specifically by name, but basically we know who he's talking about: Ryan Johansson, Matt Duchene, Filip Forsberg, even maybe Mikael Granlund, definitely Kyle Turris when he was here, somewhat Victor Arvidsson, I guess, towards the end. Craig Smith, maybe. I mean, like there's all the guys that usually play the top 6 minutes over the last 5 years. He's been complaining that their production is not good enough, and he's been right, because he signed Ryan Johansson. As soon as he gets that contract, his production goes down pretty significantly. Matt Duchene, that first year, granted a lot happened that first year, but his production was not even close. I mean, he just putrid numbers of goals and assists for him. Victor Arvidsson's production declines rapidly. Filip Forsberg has injuries, but he also isn't producing quite as much as he normally is. And then the playoff exits where they couldn't score goals against the Dallas Stars. Rocco Grimaldi was the leading goal scorer in that series with like 3 goals. The Arizona Coyotes qualifying round, which I forget even happened. So like that whole thing was just terrible series. And then the Carolina Hurricanes series, it changed, right? I mean, like that's kind of the beginning of what we're seeing now. That they reunited Johansson, Duchesne, and Forsberg. It finally worked. But back to what I was saying, he complained about the production of the top forwards. Well, what's happening now, Sean? What's happening now with the top forwards on the team?
They are producing, Alex.
They are producing like madmen. I mean, they are
insane.
They're putting up crazy numbers. They're breaking records. I mean, 2 guys are going to finish with more goals in the single season than they ever have. Roman Josi, I know not a forward, but Roman Josi is going to almost get 100 points. He's going to smash we talked about that last week. He's going to smash the assist record. I was thinking it was going to be several weeks. He's probably going to do that this week at the rate he's going.
Yeah, he's on fire, man.
So like all these top forwards, Tanner Jeannot has a breakout year. He's pushing for that rookie goals record. There's so many crazy things happening offensively with this team. So anyone who thinks that David Poile can waltz into that locker room after complaining for 4 years about the production of the top forwards and say, you know what, we can't sign this guy, so we need to trade him away, even though all of you are having career years now. That's not going to happen. He can't do that. He would break that locker room. They would completely buy out of what he was trying to do because they finally get to a place where they're doing what he's asking them to do, and then he trades one of them away. Not going to happen.
No way. You bring up a lot of good points, and I think especially if you are someone who's come into this fandom since the Stanley Cup run, I think you did a really good job of filling in that kind of space before that happened, where people understand kind of the beginning or the genesis of Filip Forsberg coming to the team. And I'll say this, that's really good analysis, but my take on things is I'm going to look at the money side of things, and trust me, we all know I am not a numbers guy. But these numbers are a little bit different because these numbers make sense. God, okay.
Like dollars and cents?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I don't know. Okay. I thought it would be funny. I need to do better. I'll figure it out for the next show. But here's the thing.
Stick to children's tales of the sea. People like that.
There you go. I'll stick to my children's sea tales. But here's the reality is that the captain of your team just signed a huge deal for $9 million a year and a little bit of change. But so you've got your highest paid player, and he's playing like your highest paid player for sure. And then you've got Filip Forsberg, who definitely needs a contract coming into his own at the right time. And I'll say this, I think when you keep hearing about the talk stalling, I think one of the biggest issues is the hurdle deal with San Jose, because they paid that guy silly money, 8 years, $8 million a year. That's a big contract. And what that really does is if you're Forsberg, if you're Forsberg's representation, I mean, you're pushing that bar up really high, because if you go head to head and compare those two guys' numbers, Forsberg is hands down the better player every single year, even outscoring Hurdle in years when Forsberg missed 20 games due to injury. The reality here is that when you start seeing the market come up, you're going to fight for that money. And so I think up until that Hurdle deal happens, things may have been going along kind of friendly and we're going to figure it out. And the Hurdle deal happens. And what that does is it says to people, okay, if Hurdle can get $8 million a year for 8 years, which is the maximum length of a contract, Forsberg, we don't know if he was pushing for more money, more term, a trade clause, a no movement clause, whatever it was. Then all of a sudden, you're going to tell me that this guy over here in San Jose is going to get $8 million a year. Okay, fair. So what do you pay Filip Forsberg? Are you going to pay him $9 million a year? Is that feasible? Or does he think realistically he can go somewhere if Hurdle's getting 8 and get $10 million a year from a team. And I think that kind of paints Poile into a box, because do you pay him more than you pay Yossi? I say yes. But then what message does that send to the captain of your team, who's absolutely setting the world on fire this year? Does that send a negative message? Does that mess with chemistry? Or is everybody on that team just happy when somebody else makes money? I don't know.
I don't know where
reality is.
I just want to throw out the can't pay him more than Yossi thing. I don't know where this came from. It certainly didn't come from Yossi.
No. But it's out there.
It was never said explicitly. I think it's just people thinking that that's a thing.
Probably.
Forwards get paid more than defensemen, people.
Yep.
That's what happens in the NHL.
Yes.
They do. I don't care how good they are. Like, go look at the contracts. Go look at the highest paid contracts. Now, there's a couple defensemen that are really highly paid. Roman Yossi's one of them. But there's almost every team, the highest paid player on the team is a forward. Or there's a couple instances where it's a goalie. But the forwards are the highest paid players. Like, that's what happens. They're more valuable because people like goals. That's what happens. This isn't new. And so, like, if Forsberg were to get paid $10 million a year, or even 9.5 over Yossi's average annual value, that would not be surprising to me. I mean, it just doesn't make any sense why people think that, especially because, oh, by the way, Filip Forsberg's younger than Yossi. Like, he's 3 years younger. So that whole thing has been very weird to me. I don't know why that came out.
Well, I'll say this, and you have to remember this. You could point to that Hurdle contract like I've been doing all you want. But the reality here, too, is that you've got to look at that Hurdle contract in context of the San Jose Sharks and look at Carlson's contract. That's a lot of money going to somebody who's not putting up big numbers. And here's Hurdle out producing. Do you pay him a lot of money just to say, hey, you're worth it to us to keep you around, because we're paying this joker a lot more money to skate around and have pretty hair and a long mustache. So, whatever. I don't know. So there are a lot of moving parts, but I think that just the knowledge that $8 million is definitely not enough. And that's proven on a league-wide basis based on this one contract. You've got to pay him more.
I just glanced at I'm looking at the 24 highest value contracts in the league, 24 of them. Okay. I'm counting 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 of them are defensemen. And 1, 2, 3 are goalies.
Yeah.
So 7 of the 24 are goalies and defensemen. That means that 17 are forwards. Forwards get paid money. That's what happens.
They do. You can pay Filip Forsberg more. I think the question comes down to, are his agents or his agent or his representative, whatever you want to call them, are they out there saying, this is what David Poile's offering, but this other team out in a different city or a different region is willing to pay this, and that's where the stall is. Look, I can go here and get this.
In the tweet I made yesterday, I had people talking about people were responding, which is great. That's what I wanted. I wanted to create conversation.
Engagement, Alex.
And right, exactly. And some people were saying, well, then why isn't Poile raising the bar? Why isn't he raising the value? Well, first of all, we don't actually know what the hang up is. I think it's pretty clear that the Forsberg's probably wanting 8 years on the term. I think Poile is just going to have to let him have that, which I think 8-year term is fine. I don't think there's any problem with that. It could be that there's trade protection that he doesn't want to give. David Poile famously doesn't give that. He did give it to Pecorine, though. He did give it to Roman Josi, so he could definitely make that happen. So why doesn't he do that?
But one of those numbers is hanging in the rafters, and I guarantee you the other one will too. So
that's very true.
What it comes down to is Forsberg going to be a guy whose numbers in the rafters retired? And I would say that if they sign a big contract here, you can almost put that on guarantee that it's going to be up there. So
totally. And then the issue is, where is the money that's there? I think hearing what I've seen recently, or what I saw a few weeks ago from some people who know what they're talking about, is that probably Poile was asking for something in the neighborhood of 7.5 and 8 a year, and that the Forsberg camp was asking more like 9.5. So like a kind of a couple $1 million difference. There's no way that Poile knew he was going to get him at 8 because the guy could get 9, I think even closer to 10 on the market because teams are stupid with money sometimes. And someone could pay Filip Forsberg $10 million a year easily, I think. And it would only be a 7-year contract. So $70 million to throw at a 27-year-old who has 211 career goals, or will have more at that point. I think there's very strong likelihood that will happen. So I think what could be happening here is that Poile is giving him this offer because he knows he has exclusive rights to Forsberg, right? He can give him whatever offer he wants. No one else can offer with this guy. He knows that as soon as the market opens up, he's going to have to go up in that value. So and this is, I think, what happened with Mikael Granlund last year. He negotiated with Granlund during the season. Negotiations stalled. He doesn't deal him. And then eventually, later in the summer, Granlund signs in Nashville 4 years at $5 million a year. I think it's very likely that the same thing kind of happened. Maybe Granlund went to market thinking, I'm going to get 6 or 7. That didn't happen. No one offered him that. And Poile, who might have been at like 4 during the season, bumped it up to 5 and was like, I've got you now. You can come on board with us. I'm giving you a higher offer. Let's sign this deal. And that's what happened. This is all conjecture. I'm just guessing.
Yeah, no, we don't know anything.
You can make the argument.
We don't have inside information.
The same thing could happen with Forsberg, where maybe Poile is offering 8.5 right now. And Hurl got 8.1. That was his actual AAV. So 8.1 AAV, 65 million or something like that. I think Poile, if Poile's offering something like 8.5 right now, he probably goes up to 9 easily by the end of the season. I mean, that's an easy number to jump to, maybe even higher. And he would sign an 8x9, which would be, for all these people that care about this, less than Yossi and still a huge contract. So I still think that a deal gets done. Or not a trade deal, a contract gets done either in the next couple days or at the end of the season, even when the free agent market opens up and there's teams that can buy in, because Poile can go up on his offer. And, does Forsberg really think, let's say he gets an offer to go to LA, because I think LA is a team that could do some buying this offseason. Yeah. That's a big jump in your lifestyle. I mean, like, that's a huge difference you're going from a place like Nashville, which you've known your whole life in the hockey world, jumping to a place like LA, like that's a different set of expectations.
Yeah. Sure is.
So I guess he would be reunited with Victor Arvidsson if he did that, but
he's having a good year.
Yeah,
could be tempting. I think though, if you've got talks that have stalled and you do have the I don't want to say the luxury of, but you do have a few more days left before the trade deadline, maybe making a few trade rumors start is enough to move the needle a little bit to get the contract negotiations going. If Forsberg's goal is to really stay in Nashville, maybe saying like, hey, let me make a little bit of noise here. And then maybe that'll move the needle just enough to make them go, okay, we'll come back to the table. Let's talk this out.
Yeah.
It's, there's a lot going on.
I think let me just double check this. I'll let you keep talking for a second while I look this up. But there's a couple people who haven't mentioned anything about trades with Forsberg that is kind of telling to me. But keep going. Do you think that the Preds should? Let me ask you this: should the Preds buy?
Oh Lord. Okay, so I'll say this while you're looking. First off, you had mentioned that you thought Poile was maybe at 7.5. And that that Forsberg's people were at about 9.5. And I'll point out that the difference between those two numbers is exactly one Kyle Turris buyout. Now, moving on from that, do I think Preds should do anything else at the trade deadline? I had seen somebody, I don't know who, I see a lot of stuff on the Twitters, but it was commented that they were maybe looking to see some kind of change with Phil Myers. And of course, we did see Phil Myers get waived, and we saw the call-up of Jeremy Davies and Matt Tennyson, which I would say in the absence of Matt Binning and Mark Borowiecki is definitely an upgraded third pairing. I'm not sure at this point what trades. If you look at what some players are actually costing, I don't know that there's anyone you would be able to get that you would go after that you'd be willing to pay for. You have to give up too much for not much. I mean, Hampus Lindholm, good gracious.
Yeah, they're definitely not buying
that's a
something
haul.
like that. No,
That's
I definitely don't think
insane.
that. What I was going to mention, let me go back to what I was going to mention. I looked it up real quick. I was trying to verify that this is true. But speaking of TSN, former TSN analyst Bob McKenzie, he is known as a lot of the big name hockey guys. Some of them are agent guys, like they have connections with agents, and a lot of them are GM guys. They have connections with GMs. Some of them are both, but Bob McKenzie's a GM guy. Some of the other people, Darren Drager is an agent guy. So Darren Drager's an agent guy. I think Elliot Friedman is an agent guy. I mean, I'm being general here, but and they have sources everywhere. But Darren Drager is one of the ones that's been talking about Filip Forsberg being in trade rumors. He's an agent guy. So that kind of goes to what you were talking about how agents could be kind of leaking some stuff to up prices. Bob McKenzie's a GM guy. He hasn't said anything about Filip Forsberg being on the trade deadline. And then also TSN him not being on there. So I think that may be kind of telling that maybe the GMs are not hearing really much of anything at all, actually. Of course there's going to be conversations. I mean, everyone makes trade calls. Those texts and phone calls fly around this time all the time. There's names can be brought up. Probably every name is brought up at some point, but I think that's probably an important thing to remember is that the guys who are connected with the GMs are not really hearing a lot. So that's probably telling just as much as anything.
Yep.
All right. I just want to throw this out there. I don't think any of these are going to happen, but if the Predators were to buy, I think that it's possible they would buy defense. And there's two names that I saw when I looked at this list that I could see maybe because they're UFAs. They would be pretty cheap. I think you could get them cheap. Calvin DeHaan, left-handed defenseman with Chicago. Chicago's pretty much just selling everything now. He's a UFA. That would be a rental. I mean, he's fine. He's a decent puck-moving defenseman, not huge. And he's played all kinds of other places. I think there was some rumors he was linked to Nashville like several years ago when Carolina was going to trade him. Yeah. And then Nick Leddy would be the other one, Detroit. Again, these are not great names. These are not anything. I would not pay a lot for these guys. But Nick Leddy's a little bit bigger. He's also an American defenseman, which John Hines and David Poile both like. American born defenseman. It's kind of a thing with them. I don't know why.
Products of USA Hockey.
Yeah, products of USA Hockey, right. Speaking of which, JT Miller, not a defenseman, but a left-wing center, having a good year with Vancouver. But he would be more expensive. He's also signed through next year, $5 million. So that would probably cost more. Like that would be like at least a pick and maybe even a player too. So JT Miller, I don't think
first-round picks.
Definitely not that. I think he probably would cost like a second. I don't know, maybe a third.
Inflation's really bad this year. I'll just say that.
Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah, inflation
it's really bad. I don't know.
So those are the only names I could see, but I don't think any of that's gonna happen. I mean, it could also be like they could go out and grab some defenseman that we really like, the Corbinian Holzer type acquisition, where it's like some dude that they get for no reason just to say they went and bought something and doesn't even play. So
because you went to the store and you didn't want to come home empty-handed.
Exactly. That's exactly what they might do. Is they might buy
You wasted the gas money to get there and you came home empty-handed.
And the Philip Myers, we mentioned this earlier. Philip Myers getting waived. Now, we don't know if he's going to get claimed. If he doesn't get claimed, he goes to Milwaukee and the Predators still have him. But there's a chance he could get claimed. I mean, he was a very highly touted prospect. I mean, he's only 24 or whatever and played plenty of minutes in Philadelphia and got a few chances here in Nashville. It sort of seems like that is over. Like they might be done with Philip Myers because they gave him all these chances. Well, they worked on him a lot. They gave him chances and they kept playing other guys over him who were not very good. Then they go get Jeremy Davies and Matt Tennyson for yesterday's game. So I don't know. I mean, Phil, yeah, upgrade for sure. Phil Myers, big dude, seems like a nice guy, but like, man, a short-lived Nashville career, perhaps. I don't know. We'll see. So, boy, lots to talk about. Lots going on right now. Let's go ahead and talk about the week ahead. 3-game West Coast road trip, sort of around the deadline. That's kind of interesting. They're going to be out of town. They're going to be in California. They're going to go to Monday. They're going to go to Anaheim. 9:00 start here. And I said that Tuesday was the trade deadline. It's actually Monday. Sorry. I don't know why I got Tuesday the 22nd. It's usually on a Monday. So, so the trade deadline's that day. So I think like 4 p.m. Eastern time or something. Then Tuesday they go to Los Angeles. That's a game against the Kings at 9:30. So back-to-backs there. Thursday they go to Vegas, and then next Sunday they play those Philadelphia Flyers again. So maybe they get their revenge. 4 games in the next 7 days. Big week. Trade deadline. Don't think Filip Forsberg has moved. I don't think they buy much of anything. I think they just kind of have this team rolling in through the next month.
Yeah, my sole hope, just to avoid all of the further speculation, is that after last night, after breaking the franchise all-time goal record, that Filip Forsberg, and like, I'm aware that this isn't a scenario that happened. Let me just say that, but I would like to think that Filip Forsberg and David Poile sat down, they had a heart-to-heart, and they were like, you know what, I've done a lot of thinking, and I think it's time we just settle this once and for all. Let's make a deal. They get something on paper, and then they announce it later today. That's my biggest hope, because I don't want to hear about it on Monday. I don't want to hear the speculation if it doesn't happen by Monday. I just want some resolution of this. Sooner the better.
Yeah, the ideal scenario would be he gets it done today, Sunday, March 20th, as it happens today, so that Monday trade deadline is a quiet day for Nashville. That there's no selling, there's no buying. They just stand with what they have. And I kind of teased this. I have some thoughts, and maybe we'll talk about this next show. I have some thoughts about where I think this team is at, in the scheme of things in terms of contending for a Stanley Cup, because there's a lot to think about where this team is mentally and structurally, than how much better of a position they're in now than they were 2 years ago. So we'll talk about that maybe next week.
Yeah, I like that.
All right.
Let's get the trade deadline out of the way, and we'll come back.
You can check out all of our hockey coverage at atozsports.com. Also go to ontheforetech.com and check that out as well. Read Sean and everyone there. Follow me on Twitter at AlexDarty1, Sean on Twitter at SCSOTF, and we will see you next week.